horrible murder in Whitechapel. Scarcely has the horror and sensation caused by the discovery of the murdered woman in Whitechapel some short time ago had time to abate than another discovery is made, which, for the brutality exercised on the victim, is even more shocking, and will no doubt create as great a sensation in the vicinity as its predecessor. The affair, up to the present, is enveloped in complete mystery, and the police have as yet no evidence to trace the perpetrators of the horrible deed. The facts are that as Constable John Neal was walking down Bucks Row, Thomas Street, Whitechapel, about 3:45 this morning, he discovered a woman between 35 and 40 years of age lying at the side of the street with her throat cut right open from ear to ear. The instrument with which the deed was done tracing the throat from left to right. The wound was about 2 inches wide, and blood was flowing profusely. In fact, she was discovered to be lying in a pool of blood. She was immediately conveyed to the Whitechapel mortuary, where it was found that, besides the wound in the throat, the lower part of her person was completely ripped open. The wound extends nearly to her breast and must have been effected with a large knife. As the corpse of the woman lies in the mortuary, it presents a ghastly sight. The victim measures 5 feet 2 inches in height. The hands are bruised and bear evidence of having engaged in a severe struggle. There is the impression of a ring having been worn on one of deceased's fingers, but there is nothing to show that it had been wrenched from her in a struggle. Some of the front teeth have also been knocked out, and the face is bruised on both cheeks and very much discolored. Deceased wore a rough brown ulster with large buttons in front. Her clothes are torn and cut up in several places, leaving evidence of the ferocity with which the murder was committed. The only way by which the police can prosecute an inquiry at present is by finding someone who can identify the deceased, and then, if possible, trace those in whose company she was when last seen. In Bucks Row, naturally the greatest excitement prevails, and several persons in the neighborhood state that an affray occurred shortly after midnight, but no screams were heard, nor anything beyond what might have been considered evidence of an ordinary brawl. The woman has not yet been identified. She was wearing workhouse clothes, and it is supposed she came from Lambeth. A night watchman was in the street where the crime was committed. He heard no scream and saw no sign of the scuffle. The body was quite warm when brought to the mortuary at 4:30 this morning. Immediately on the affair being reported at the Bethnal Green police station, 2 inspectors proceeded to the mortuary and examined the clothes in the hope of being able to discover something likely to lead to her identification. In this, they were not successful, as the only articles found on the body were a broken comb and piece of a looking glass. The wounds, of which there are 5, could only have been committed by a dagger or a long, sharp knife. The officers engaged in the case are pushing their inquiries in the neighborhood as to the doings of certain gangs known to frequent these parts, and an opinion is gaining ground amongst them that the murderers are the same who committed the 2 previous murders near the same spot. It is believed that these gangs, who make their appearance during the early hours of the morning, are in the habit of blackmailing these poor creatures, and where their demands are refused, violence follows. Bucks Row is a narrow passage running out of Thomas Street and contains about a dozen houses of a very low class. It would appear as if the murder was committed in a house and the body afterwards removed to the place where it was found, the nature of the abdominal wounds being such that it would be hardly possible for them to be inflicted whilst the deceased was dressed. The body was warmly clad,